I wasn't supposed to be the one who remembered. Dale counted on that. He counted on the fact that I was tired, underpaid, and grateful for the job. He counted on silence, the way some people count on gravity, just assumed it would always hold. For 11 years, it did. I told myself it wasn't my fault, that I hadn't done anything, that I only erased a few hours of footage, that whatever happened to Leanne Pruitt, that was on him, not me. I told myself that so many times I started to believe it. Then last spring, her mother called the station again. Same call she makes every year on the anniversary, and someone forwarded me the transcript by accident. She still thinks Leanne is going to come home. I drove to the police station that same afternoon. I'm telling you this now because I need you to understand something before we go any further. I'm not doing this because I'm a good person. I'm doing this because I found out I was wrong about what I buried, and what's buried doesn't stay quiet forever.
The Denton County Forensic Storage Facility is not a glamorous place. I want you to know that up front. There's no drama in the daily routine. You log items in, log them out, run chain of custody reports, watch a parking lot that never fills up. Some nights, you don't speak to another human being for 8 hours straight. I took the job in 2011 because it was steady. Government benefits, nights only, which suited me. I was going through a divorce, and silence felt like a gift back then. Dale Vickers ran the place. He'd been there 12 years already. He was the kind of man who remembered your coffee order after one conversation and quoted it back to you 3 months later like it was nothing. People loved him. I loved him. For a while. He gave me the job when I had nothing. That's important, because when you owe someone your stability, loyalty stops being a choice. It starts feeling like oxygen. Leanne Pruitt started in the spring of 2013. Forensic tech, contract position. She was quiet, not unfriendly, just focused. The kind of focus that makes you wonder what they're looking for. About 6 weeks in, I noticed she was staying late. Not unusual for her department, but she was photographing shelf sections. Her personal phone. Not a facility camera, not an official audit form. Her own phone, angled at inventory rows, quick and deliberate. I almost said something. Almost. Dale had mentioned her the week before, casually, the way he mentioned everything. Said she'd been asking a lot of questions about the 2009 evidence rotation logs. Said she was probably just thorough. Said he liked thorough people. He smiled when he said it. I remember thinking at the time that the smile was wrong. Not wrong like a threat. Wrong like a decision. Like he had already figured something out and was just waiting on the rest of the world to catch up. I didn't follow that thought anywhere. I wish I had. The night it started, Dale came to find me during my rounds. That alone was unusual. He was a day shift man. Seeing him at 2 a.m. in the monitor room was like seeing a dog walk upright. Wrong enough that your brain stalls. He sat down beside me like it was nothing. Asked how I was doing, asked about my daughter. She just started middle school. He remembered the school's name. He always remembered things like that. Then he said, "Camera 4's been glitching. I'm gonna need you to pull and reformat the card when you do your sweep tonight. Log it as a routine maintenance error." Camera 4 was the east parking lot exit. I asked him if I should flag it for tech services. He said no. It was just a firmware issue. He'd already ordered the replacement. He patted my shoulder. Told me I was the most reliable person he'd ever worked with. I reformatted the card at 3:17 a.m. Logged it exactly the way he said. Leanne Pruitt's car was found abandoned at the east parking lot exit 3 days later. The investigation went exactly nowhere. Leanne's case stayed open for about 18 months before it quietly moved to the inactive file. No body, no witnesses, no camera footage from the exit she would have used. No camera footage. Because I erased it. I didn't know what I was erasing. I want to be honest about that. I didn't know she was missing yet. I didn't know anything was wrong until the detective showed up 3 days after I reformatted that card and started asking about the parking lot camera. And by then, I had already told myself the story Dale needed me to tell. Firmware error. Routine maintenance. I logged it myself. When Detective Castillo showed me the maintenance log last spring, my handwriting, my badge number, the timestamp, she didn't accuse me of anything. She just let me look at it. She said, "You want to tell me what you actually remember about that night?" And for the first time in 11 years, someone gave me a door. I walked through it.
Here is what I didn't know for 11 years. Leanne Pruitt had found it. The rotation logs from 2009 to 2011. Evidence items that were checked out and never checked back in. Small amounts, items that could be written off as clerical error. But when you looked at the pattern, the destinations, the dates, it wasn't clerical error. Someone was moving physical evidence out of long-term storage, and it was Dale who signed off on every single transfer. The night she disappeared, she had emailed that documentation to an outside address, a friend in the state attorney's office. That email sat unread for 11 years because the friend changed jobs 3 months after and the inbox was archived. And nobody went back to look. Detective Castillo found it in March when she reopened the case on her own time. No official request. Just her, a search warrant for old server records, and a decade of frustration. Leanne had found the thread that would have unraveled everything Dale built. And Dale knew she had found it. He must have seen her photographing those shelves. He must have known it was only a matter of time. And then, camera 4 went dark. And I made sure of it. The night after my first session with Detective Castillo, Dale called me. He knew. I don't know how. Maybe someone inside the department. Maybe he'd been watching me. Dale was always 3 steps ahead. That was the thing about him. Charm was just the visible layer. Underneath, everything was calculation. He didn't threaten me directly. He never would. That wasn't his style. He said he'd heard I'd been down at the station. Said it casually, like he was asking about the weather. Said he hoped I was doing okay, that it sounded stressful, that if I needed anything, I should call him. Then he said, "You remember how much I was able to do for you back in 2011? When things were rough? I've always looked out for you, Marcus. I hope you know that." He hung up. I stood in my driveway for 20 minutes after. My hands were shaking. Not from fear exactly. From recognition. From finally understanding what I had actually been a part of for over a decade. He wasn't reminding me that he helped me. He was reminding me that I helped him. And that the two of us were bound together in a way that I was only just beginning to fully understand. The warrant was executed on a Tuesday. I know, because I was sitting in the parking lot of a gas station 3 blocks away, too afraid to be anywhere that mattered and too invested to be anywhere else. Castillo had moved fast, faster than I expected. Once I gave her the full account, once she had my statement and the email Leanne had sent, and once she cross-referenced the evidence rotation records with 3 separate cases that had gone cold in the county, she had enough. I found out later that Dale's lawyer was there within 40 minutes. That tells you something. A man who has a lawyer on call like that has been waiting for a morning like that his entire career. But there's something about a Tuesday morning in a government parking lot that Dale had never accounted for. Routine. The mundane certainty of it. He had probably imagined his exposure happening in dramatic ways. A phone call, a confrontation, something he could manage. Instead, 2 officers and a detective walked in during coffee hour and asked him to come with them. He went quietly. Of course he did. Dale was never the kind of man to make a scene. The formal statement took 11 hours across 3 sessions. Every detail, every night, every conversation I'd had with Dale that now carried different weight. I told them about the camera card. I told them what he said about Leanne being too thorough. I told them about the 2 a.m. visit, the smile, the shoulder pat. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from telling the truth after holding it for 11 years. It's not relief, not exactly. It's more like decompression, like coming up from water slowly, because if you come up too fast, something breaks. Castile was methodical. She never pushed me. She never told me I was brave. She just asked questions and wrote things down, and occasionally slid a photograph across the table for me to confirm. One of those photographs was Leanne's employee badge photo. The way it looked in that file, official, laminated, already years old, made it real in a way nothing else had. She was a person who went to work, who found something wrong and tried to report it, who trusted that the systems around her would protect her. And I was one of the systems that failed her. Leanne's mother still lives in the same house. The detective told me that. She also told me she would not recommend I go there, that it wasn't my place, that it could interfere with the proceedings, that there would be a time for that if a time ever came. She was right. I know she was right. I went anyway. I stood at the end of the path and I didn't knock. I stood there for maybe 4 minutes, long enough for the porch light to flicker on, motion sensor. Long enough to notice the wind chime on the porch was shaped like birds in flight. I had a note. I never left it. I walked back to my car. I sat there. I thought about 11 years of her mother making that same phone call to a station that had no answers. 11 springs. 11 anniversaries of absence. I started the car and drove away, and I told myself I would find the right time. I'm still waiting for it. 3 weeks after Dale's arrest, Castillo called me. She said there was something in Leanne's email they hadn't shared with me yet, an addendum, a second attachment in the original message. Leanne had been documenting more than the evidence rotation logs. She had been documenting me. She'd noticed the camera reformats, my badge number on the maintenance logs, not just the one from her last night, but 2 prior incidents, both involving cameras in areas Dale had been under, and she had flagged them, quietly, as a footnote in her own investigation. She knew I was connected. She didn't know if I was involved willingly or under pressure. Her note said, and Castillo read this to me word for word, "The night supervisor may not understand what he's part of, or he may. Either way, he'll be important if this ever goes anywhere." Leanne Pruitt spent 6 weeks quietly building a case that implicated her supervisor and documented her own colleagues' suspicious behavior. And still sent the email that night. Still tried. She knew she might not make it home. She went anyway. I don't know where she is. The investigation is ongoing. Dale has a very good lawyer. But Leanne's email was opened. After 11 years, someone finally read it. And whatever happens next, whatever happens to me, that much is real. That much is done. She documented everything. I just wish I had been worth documenting.